Hi, friends. It's Matt Lyles here, and I'm coming to you with something that I haven't done before. I'm hoping to be able to do more of these in the future, but I have one of my oldest friends, Lesley Patel, with us today. And Lesley is a marketing leader, and she leads a team of about 20 people or so. And given in this time frame, where a lot of us are finding ourselves working remotely suddenly for an extended period of time, I'm looking to hear stories from leaders like Lesley about what they're doing to make sure that they can ensure a thriving culture with their team. So first, I just want to see, this is my friend Lesley. And Lesley, if
Hi,
you don't
guys.
mind, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Sure. Matt, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. This is a first for me too. We were talking previously before you hit the record button and made this official, but I do love talking about leadership and I love learning about leadership. And I absolutely appreciate your blog and your insights and very glad to participate in this kind of QA with you and share ideas on how we lead teams during uncertain times. And so there are a few things that I would like to share. But before that, just a little bit about myself. I work as a marketing leader. I'm the director of the marketing operations team at ALSAC, which is the fundraising and awareness organization for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And we do have a team of about 20. And the way that I like to describe this group of people, kind of just to visualize it, we really serve as the mission control center for the marketing division at ALSAC. And so if you think about NASA and kind of the ground control and everybody on the ground kind of making sure that things are happening on time and that risks are being handled and we kind of got our eye on everything. We have team members that do a lot of that. So I kind of like to share that as a visual for what this team does. Another metaphor would be just making sure the trains are running on time. And we really drive the business operations for the marketing division at ALSAC and just try to keep things moving. So you can imagine in a time like this, where you want to have continuity in your operations, this team really comes into play. And I'm honored to lead this group of people, and I'm happy to share some ideas with you today.
That's amazing. And, not a lot of areas have marketing ops teams like yours, but yours is one that is really essential to your organization. And it sounds like you're orchestrating a lot of different parts. So
Yes,
absolutely important.
there's a lot of orchestration that goes on and a lot of people that play very important roles in our organization. And I'm very happy to help lead this team and help these guys during this time. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so as we all know, depending on the company where you work,
Mhm.
maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago, a lot of teams, a lot of people, especially in Tennessee, found their teams suddenly working remotely for an extended period of time. And in my background at FedEx, we had a lot of flexibility in our roles, and we were able to work from home every once in a while, but it was always, maybe a day at a time. There was nothing that where we anticipated, oh, I'm going to be working from home for a month or for
You're
2 months
right.
or even more. So given that, I can imagine that, and and I've heard and I've seen examples of your team and what a cohesive and strong culture your team has. But when you're suddenly going remote, how
Mhm.
can you, as the leader, ensure that the culture that you have is still thriving? How can you ensure a strong culture now that your team's all remote?
Sure. Well, it certainly is a shock to the system at first. And we are in the fourth week of working remotely. And when this started, my goal was to really keep the team that I lead connected and keep them engaged. And first, work closely with the leaders that I lead on the team to continue that connectedness and engagement during this time. It was also really important for us to continue some continuity And even though we are in this remote space in our own homes, there are still things that we're going to continue to do just to keep the day moving and to keep the business moving. So establishing those areas of continuity so it doesn't seem so jolting at the beginning. And luckily, we have some really great technology that can help us stay connected and operate business continuity. And we have Zoom virtual meetings, which I'm sure a lot of you guys out there do, Zoom chats, and we really use that as our main source of communication. So right off the bat, it was, you know what, we're going to be away from each other for a pretty long time. And let's just make sure that we stay connected, that we find opportunities to engage with one another, and that we find some continuity in the work that we do from home. And I think that that's really helped our team adjust to this.
Oh, very cool. And you talk about Zoom. Were you using Zoom before all of this, or is Zoom brand new to you and your team?
So yes, our organization has been using Zoom. So being able to immediately start working from home and having this technology was really a lifesaver. People were familiar with it. People were comfortable in using it. Everybody turns on their camera and is ready to be present, which is really great to see. So yeah, we went through that learning curve, over a year ago. So we were really well set up to take this on, with this technology.
Excellent. So you can essentially hit the ground running right now without most people having to figure out, like what sort of, like lighting do I need to have, or am I backlit or light in my face, or am I
I
looking,
do that actually.
am I looking down at the camera, or am I looking up like this, or
so
what?
Jokingly, but honestly, I have a little backlight behind me. Have a little front light in front of me. I debated whether or not to use a background because that has become really popular.
Oh yeah.
In working in this environment, is to do some really cool virtual backgrounds and changing those either daily or weekly. So you can certainly have a lot of fun with it as well.
Oh yeah. And this is my favorite
Love it.
background to use.
It's good.
Someone had gone on Twitter a few days ago and said, like, so with Zoom, what's that going to make possible for people now? And I replied, said, well, now, I mean, like, people can know who my favorite bands are without me even having to tell them.
That's right.
Yes.
You can tell a lot about yourself through your Zoom background. Absolutely. So that's been a lot of fun. And, in our business, the day-to-day business still has to continue. You still have to get the job done. And like I mentioned earlier, trying to find that continuity, a couple of things that we did was just continue our scheduled meetings that we had, continue doing our stand-ups with our project teams, which really helped. Now, there certainly are some social aspects that we've adopted, and we can talk about that now if you'd like, because I do have some kind of fun examples of what we've done to make it lighthearted and keep it interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Because, again, business continuity is essential. And whatever you can do to use the tools that you have to ensure business continuity, is necessary. At the same time, when you've got, when you have an in-person working environment like you do, and you have that strong culture with your team, when people aren't together in person, there's a lot of changes to those things that aren't necessarily like the business continuity related. It's more around like your people and your culture. So,
right.
So in this time, like there's some teams that I know that have like team culture traditions that they try and carry on. And there's also an opportunity to, start some new traditions and norms based on the current environment. So I would love to hear your talk on that.
Yeah. So we are a relationship organization. And so to go from seeing people every single day and being able to drop by people's offices or desks or just have those connections that might not be work related, that can be quite a jolt. I'm sorry, I just got a little notification on my computer, so I apologize. So yeah, that can be quite a jolt to the system. And one of the things that we're doing in this situation. And I told my team, tell me what you want to do. I really let them lead this. This
Oh,
wasn't Lesley saying, hey, we're going to do these things to stay engaged. It was, share your ideas with me, and I will support you. So some of the things that we've done have been just virtual happy hours. And I now see these all over social media, and this has really picked up. And so we do them every Friday late afternoon with our immediate team. And no pressure. It's for our social involvement, it's optional. So there's no
right.
pressure for anyone to attend. You can attend if you want. And it really is a lot of fun. Some of the things that we've started doing have been trivia nights and having choose your favorite background, who has the best background, and just really making it lighthearted and fun. But I think the important thing as it relates to that in leading a team is put it in their hands and just support whatever ideas they have. Because really what will happen is some fun ideas will come out of it. And so that's something that I've tried to do with this group.
Oh, that's very cool. Because a lot of leaders will get in their own head their idea of fun, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll tell their team, "Hey, this is going to be fun, and here's what we're going to do." And I like to refer to that as forced fun.
Right.
So being able to listen to what your team members want to do and what they want to participate in, like that's really key. And I'm so happy to hear you saying that.
Yeah. And the way I treat it is whatever you want, I support you, and no pressure. You don't have to participate if you don't want to. And so far, it has worked really well. But in doing that, Matt, one of the things that I've really tried to pay attention to is the difference between leading a team and leading individuals. And this really comes to play in remote situations because everyone's different.
Right.
Everyone has different needs. Everyone has different ways that they like to engage. And so what's good for the team might not necessarily be good for the individual. So it's been important for me and also coaching the leaders on my team to be really attuned to those individual needs and create opportunities to engage with the individual and not just the team. And so that's something that I've also implemented with meeting directly with the people that are my direct reports, and also meeting directly with team members that might be a level down, kind of doing those skip level meetings
Right.
and just making sure that I'm listening to them, understanding what their needs are, and just offering my support. So this has really been a big eye opener to pay attention to the needs of both of those things, the individual and the team.
So as you're paying attention to individuals, are there some individuals that uh, not necessarily require, but would prefer a bit more face time with you than other individuals?
Yes, there are some that definitely need more FaceTime, more encouragement or more acknowledgement, kind of just those pats on the back, and just being available to either listen or answer questions. On the flip side, we have people on our team who are very independent and enjoy working independently. And those are the individuals that I know when they need something, they'll let me know. And that's just the years of working with people and understanding how they like to be treated. So it's a good split between those needs.
Oh, that's
But I
fantastic.
will say, I want to add, for those people that are more independent and maybe don't quite need that extra attention, I still am very intentional about checking in and making sure that they're not off on an island somewhere, and kind of bringing them back in, but also asking them what kind of help they need.
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, someone may be very independent with their work. At the same time, we also need to recognize that, you know, um, on teams, every every individual on a team is still a human being,
True.
And human beings are going through this together right now, and it's in the whole environment, the whole situation is affecting different people differently. And so some people who may be great at working independently, again, may still need that check-in every once in a while, just to make
Right.
sure.
And I'll tell you, it really takes intention. And I have to honestly remind myself to do that. And, when you're in the office environment, it's so easy to pop up out of your chair and go visit someone. It almost takes very
Mhm.
little effort. And there's certainly more effort in doing this. But I've had to kind of remind myself and have talks with myself on, this is the role I serve, and I need to be able to do that and be more intentional.
Wow. And and I apologize. I hope this is not throwing a curveball at you, because I don't think this is one of the questions I sent you beforehand. But one of the
Okay.
things that I'm talking to leaders about as well is that as you're guiding and leading and shepherding your team, at the same
Mhm.
time, you're still a human too. So you need somebody to be able to either vent to or share your concerns with. Um, do you feel like you have the right people in place who are looking after you?
I do, and I'm so fortunate to have that. I have an incredible leader who has been an incredible coach for me throughout the years, and I do lean on him quite a bit. We have a really good relationship. And in learning from him, one of the things that I've tried to instill in the managers that I lead is to be a vulnerable leader. I will tell them. I told them the first week or two, I was like, guess what, guys? This is not for me. I will work in this environment and try to bring my best every day, but I don't like it. And it's the truth. I'd rather not be in this situation. And I'm sure a lot of other people can say the same thing, but I'm going to admit that.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to talk about the things that I struggle with too, because I do have those challenges and barriers. I have two small children who are continuing to do their schooling, and so just being able to balance working and leading and helping them, I have been very upfront saying, you know what, I cannot meet with you right now. I need to go take my little guy outside to get some fresh air, but I can meet with you later. So I try to practice that every day.
And that's a great point, because again, in this situation, not only are a number of people now working remotely, but schools are canceled. And so that means that kids are at home, and most spouses, not all the time, but many spouses are also working from home. So you've got the whole family now trying to go through their normal life all at
Yep.
home. So given that situation, and it sounds like you're setting up, the right boundaries to make sure that you're able to uh,
Mhm.
be present for your family, be present for your children. Um, Depending on the organization, depending on the team, there's a lot of teams where the it doesn't matter exactly what time the work gets done, so long as the work is done. And one of the things that I've been talking to people is, instead of ensuring 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 hours given this time, what making sure that people set up core hours. So
Yeah.
for these few hours here is when you need to be, here's when I need you to be accessible. Have you been able to discuss that with your team about when team members are needed to be accessible?
Sure. And this is something that we did before this, because we all have our life and our work, and all of that integrates. So, well before we were in the current situation that we're in and working from home and schooling from home, that was part of how we approached our work. So, that has really not been a big adjustment for us. And the way I treat it is what you just said. If you can get your work done and commit to it and communicate and set those expectations on the front end, say what you're able to do, and then talk about, what you could potentially get to later. As long as that is communicated clearly and those expectations are set, then we're successful, and it works for our group. And I'm really actually proud of that. I would say that in this situation, even though there's uncertain times and you do feel those pressures of just working differently and having children at home,
Right.
and of course there are people that don't have children at home, but there's still some pressures and stresses that are created through this situation. It's give yourself grace, uh, give grace to others, and we're going to get through this.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And I'm so happy to hear, because it sounds like you were prepared for a lot of this. No, I'm assuming that you didn't anticipate this situation happening, and I don't think anybody really anticipated this. But it sounds like the way that you've managed and orchestrated and led your team sounds like, for the most part, you were prepared for a situation like this to happen.
I would say, not being able to prepare for this, but then being thrown in this situation and having to adjust, it feels like we prepared for it. That's kind of a weird thing to say, but it feels like we were ready, because we had this working culture, because we've had the technology and tools to support uh, virtual work, because we had the leadership that
Yeah.
trusts us
That-
and the
That's it.
leadership that allows us to work and live our lives. I would say that it hasn't been an easy transition, but it hasn't been an impossible transition, which has really been inspiring, actually.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, I love hearing this story. I mean, of course, having all the right tools works, but it really helps, and it makes things a lot easier and a lot smoother when you have the trust and when you have the grace all around.
Mhm. So important. And I can say that the people that I work directly with, leaders or individual contributors, that's there. That trust and that grace is there, and it's a good feeling to have that.
Very cool. Now, one of the things I want to talk about are, when it comes to going from your office environment to a remote setting, depending on the job that you do, depending on the tools that you have access to at your office, a lot of times there's barriers for you to be able to be effective working from home. So can you explain what steps you took with your team to be able to minimize those barriers and ensure that all your team members had everything they needed to be effective working remotely?
Sure. Um, Particularly with barriers, I think first of all, it's you need to understand what those are. And that again goes back to leading the individual and understanding that everyone's different and they have different barriers and different roadblocks. And so that's why I've tried to focus on each team member and have our leaders do the same and make sure that, and I think I said this earlier, but I'll repeat myself, just make sure that know that they're supported, that they can ask questions, and that we as leaders should ask questions to understand, and always ask the question, what does support look like for me and how can I help you? Some of the barriers that we've seen, the schooling from home certainly creates an interesting dynamic at home,
It does.
but I will say that that can be managed, and that's all I'll say about that. Some of the other barriers that I've seen is just changes in work and changes in someone's role. So in this situation, work has changed for us. Our focus has changed. Not to go into too much detail, but we have some people that may have more downtime now because their role is just a little different
Right.
in working from home. So some of the things that we've tried to do is to ask, who has downtime? Who can help? We created a help wanted board that
Oh my
we
goodness.
have on one of our collaboration tools, where someone can go in and say, hey, I'm available. I have capacity during this many hours a day. Here are my skills. And so we can use this information to look at new projects that have been created because of this situation, and tap people on the shoulder to say, hey, can you come do this? Another thing that we've tried to do in where people are experiencing downtime is to really enforce training opportunities. We have very robust training resources, and so we've tried to help promote that too, so people don't kind of feel lost at home.
Right.
On the flip side of that, we do have team members that have never been busier before in their lives. I mean, they just cannot keep up, and so we're trying to understand that and help move people over to help out. Yeah.
That's fantastic, and that's something that, you know, I noticed this maybe a month ago at Costco, of all places. But Costco is one of those companies that has an amazing culture too. And when I went into Costco, I saw a few people, like there were more people, more employees there than normal. And then I ran into somebody, and he said he was talking to me, and he apologized for not knowing exactly where some certain items were, because he normally works in the photo center, and said that, you know, during this time they decided to close the photo center down and move his role and other people's roles into the store, like moving resources around where they're needed the most. And so I don't think enough businesses, and I don't think enough leaders are catching on to that need to be able to rotate and place resources where they're needed the most right now. So kudos to you on that.
We're trying, and it's taken some time to figure
Okay.
out the best way to approach it, but it is something that we are definitely paying attention to.
Awesome. Now,
Yeah.
one last thing, you know, I want to talk about again, you know, this can be a difficult time, a
Mhm.
difficult situation for people. What steps are you taking to ensure that morale is as high as it can be, or how are you managing or influencing the morale on your team?
Yeah. This one is such a great question, and something I think leaders really need to pay attention to. And again, I feel like a broken record, but it's engaging with the individual, and as well as the team. And with this, the one thing that I've tried to focus on, and that I'm trying to help coach, is that during times like this, when maybe there are more questions than answers, it's easy to get sidetracked and lose sight of what matters most. And so what I've tried to do is really focus on purpose and defining my purpose during this time, and trying to connect with my personal why. Because in full transparency and all honesty, when we first started this experiment of working from home,
Right.
there was a lost feeling. I lost my connection with my team. I lost my connection with my work friends. I lost my routine of going to the office every day and doing my work. My children kind of lost the same thing. You know, and I say lost, I don't know if that's exactly what I mean, but there was a period of recognizing that I had to say goodbye to something, and that was a little painful. And so the question was, what's my purpose now? And what is that personal why? And that can mean something different for anybody, but that's something that I've tried to lean into, and what my purpose is, and trying to define that is just to continue to be a strong and available leader for my team, continue to be a caring and patient mother for my kids, and be a better partner for my husband. But I think for me, trying to define that, then I can help others see things that way as well, and help them define that. If their purpose has shifted, or they're really looking for their own personal why during this situation. So that's kind of where my mind is right now. And it took me a minute to get there.
Oh
Well, it
yeah.
took me like 2 weeks to get there, not just a minute. But I needed that time to kind of figure some things out for me.
That is refreshing to hear, and I'm glad that you shared that it actually took you a couple of weeks to get there, because I don't want anyone thinking that, that you have to be so strong that all of a sudden when the crisis hits, you're focusing on your purpose and you're strongly moving forward. It does take everybody some amount of time to be able to adjust. And then
Mhm.
at the same time, like one of the things that I try to teach people is your purpose, your why is the basis. That's the foundation for everything that you do. And when things get out of whack, when things go haywire, get back to your foundation, and
Mhm.
that's going to help you to be able to build something new on top of that foundation.
I agree, Matt, and it certainly has helped me kind of find my footing and remind myself who I am and the leader that I want to be for the incredible group of people that I do get the privilege to lead. So yeah, to me, that has boosted my morale, and I hope to communicate that with others too if they're struggling.
Oh, that's fantastic. um, and I got to share with you, I saw this on Facebook, I think over the weekend. it
Yes.
looks like um it looks like you may have gotten out of the shelter in place for a little while, or maybe while you were doing an essential errand. It looks like you may have placed some happies and some presents at some of your team members' front doorstep.
Yes, I did do that, and yes, Facebook. What a wonderful thing! I had not intended to post anything about that, but the friends that I delivered treats and flowers to did, and actually, I really do appreciate that they did that. But that was something that I was working with my children on one weekend.
Oh,
During this time, we find
nice.
different things to do and different hobbies. And so they both really enjoy baking. So we baked together and bought some flowers and some little vases and delivered cookies and flowers to friends and family. But I'm going to extend this story a little bit and kind
Yeah.
of explain the basis for it. There's the part in working with your children and teaching them kindness in doing things for others. And then I have a good friend. His name is Enrique, and I work with him. And his daughter, Ariana, was a patient at St. Jude. And she is no longer with us. She did pass away, but we try to honor her legacy, or Enrique and his family
Yeah.
actually honor her legacy every year near her birthday. And for the 8 years that she was with us, they celebrate Ariana's 8 acts of kindness, and her birthday is actually tomorrow on the
Oh
8th.
wow.
So they've started this movement in honor of their daughter, Ariana. And so it's really tying those two things together, helping to honor a legacy and support a friend, as well as bringing some small joy and happiness to some people that I'm friends with and some family members. So it kind of was a nice little thing to do. And I enjoy doing stuff like that anyways. It's very contagious, I'll tell you. And I'm sure
Oh yeah.
anyone listening to this knows that when you give to someone, like the gift you get back from that is huge, and it makes you want to continue to do it. In fact, my
Absolutely.
kids
Yeah.
were asking me, who are we going to bring gifts to next week? And so, yeah, it definitely has a lasting effect. And I want to encourage everyone to do that during this time, spread some acts of kindness.
That is beautiful to hear about that legacy, just in and of itself, but then especially during this time to be able to share those acts of kindness. And it is so true how acts of kindness, and even just an energy of kindness or even a positive energy, is absolutely contagious. And and I challenge leaders, in this time, to be positive and to project a positive energy to your team members and to your peers and those that you work with. And then when you do that, they'll start to replicate that
Right.
positive energy. And then when they do that, they'll spread it to others, and the people that they spread it to will replicate it. And so hopefully that positive energy will really, really grow.
Certainly takes off for sure. And Matt, I need to let you know, so before we started recording, I got a note of an upgrade of Zoom on my laptop, and just want to, my Zoom may shut down and restart, so I just want to let you know that that might happen. And if it does, I'm sorry.
No, quite all right. You know what? Hopefully the update is new virtual backgrounds.
That would be fantastic.
Well,
Or the filters that you can put on your. I saw this article and I sent it to my team, and I'm sure they probably didn't think it was as funny as I did, but there was this one woman who accidentally turned herself into a potato
I
on
saw
her
that.
Zoom, and I thought that was hilarious.
And she
And I
couldn't
thought,
get out of
I
the
want to do
potato.
that. She didn't know how to change back out of the potato and did the whole meeting as a potato. And I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, and that's fun too.
It is
Well,
fun.
Lesley, one last question before we go. If you have any advice to any leaders out there right now who are in this situation, or who may, be a few weeks behind where you are, what advice would you give them now that they're finding their entire team suddenly working remote?
Right. As a leader, your main role is your people. And you need to make sure your people are okay. And you need to find ways to connect with them, keep them engaged, and understand what they need. When you have a team of people that feel valued and heard and connected, that's when you're going to see their best work. And so when we talk about the people that we get the privilege to lead, they're the ones doing the work. We get the privilege to lead them and coach them, but it's very important that we're there as leaders helping them along the way. And that would really be my advice, is to really lean into that,
Hmm.
and understand what their needs are, and help them through some of those things. Also ask for their advice. My team has the best ideas, and I really like to let them just run with those things. So ask for their advice and opinions too. You might find some really great ideas if you do that.
I love it. Thank you so much. You know what? I almost want to quit my role now, and I want to come work for you.
Please come work for me, Matt. That would be fantastic.
It would be fun. Well, your Zoom update is probably going to happen soon, so I can't wait to see the new filters and the new virtual
Yeah.
backgrounds, if that's what it is. But Lesley, I am so grateful for your time here today. I'm so grateful for all the lessons that you've shared with me, and that we can share with everybody else. I think this is, again, a challenging time, but I applaud you for the way that you and your team is handling it.
Thank you, Matt. And I appreciate you as well. I really enjoy reading all the things that you write. I love your sense of humor, and I pass along a lot of the things that you write about. So thank you for doing that. It's really good stuff.
I'm happy to serve. Cool. Well, thank you very much, and I hope that you enjoy your evening and your time with your family.
You do the same, Matt.
All right.
All
Bye,
right.
Lesley.
Take care. Bye-bye.